Think about the last time you bought like a plane ticket online.
Oh, yeah. Always a stressful experience.
Right, because you select your flight,
Yes.
you type in all your passenger details, and you're rushing to the checkout. And suddenly you're looking at a final price that is, $40 higher than you expected.
Yep, the hidden fees.
Exactly. So you scroll back up, and there it is. It's this pre-checked, brightly colored box asking if you want to protect your trip, while the no thanks button is basically disguised as light gray text hiding in the corner.
It's designed to make you miss it.
You almost accidentally bought travel insurance because the interface was engineered to make you do exactly that.
Right.
Now, apply that exact same psychological trick to a highly polarized political environment. Welcome to another deep dive.
Super excited for this one.
Yeah, today we are looking at a stack of articles and reports centered around Rosanda Thomas, better known to, well, pretty much everyone, as Chilli, from the iconic R&B group TLC.
The legend herself.
Truly. But our mission today is not celebrity gossip. We are unpacking a massive internet firestorm surrounding her recent financial data.
Right. To really understand what happens when these confusing digital interfaces we navigate every single day collide with celebrity culture.
And rapid-fire online narratives.
Exactly. It serves as this fascinating real-time case study for us. We're essentially looking at the architecture of a modern digital controversy.
Yeah.
Because this situation shows us exactly how public perception is synthesized almost instantaneously from raw data.
While the actual, nuanced understanding of what happened takes so much longer.
Right, the truth takes time to catch up.
So before we get into the timeline of what actually happened, we need to set the ground rules for today's deep dive.
Very important.
Because our sources detail a story involving Donald Trump, the MAGA movement, and intense reactions from both left-wing and right-wing observers online. So we need to be completely clear about our parameters here with you.
Yes, 100%.
We are not taking any political sides today. We are not endorsing or condemning Donald Trump, the MAGA movement, or the critics involved. Our goal is strictly impartial.
We're just looking at the mechanics.
Exactly. We are here to analyze the factual events, the raw data, and the technological aspects of how this exploded exactly as it's presented in the reporting.
That is a crucial baseline. I mean, we are looking at how information moves, right? How platforms are designed, and how human beings react to isolated data points in a highly charged environment.
Right. Examining the machinery behind the outrage, not validating the outrage itself.
Precisely.
So the spark for this entire situation didn't start with like a controversial tweet or an off-the-cuff interview. It started with paperwork.
Federal campaign finance records, to be specific.
Yeah. Observers scanning these public registries noticed that Rosanda Thomas had made donations in 2024 to Donald Trump's presidential campaign efforts.
Which immediately sets off alarm bells online.
Totally. Now, looking at the specifics in our stack of reports, we are not talking about a massive million-dollar dark money contribution here.
Right. It wasn't a huge sum.
The record showed a series of donations totaling under $1,000, and they were processed through WinRed and affiliated political action committees.
And just for context, WinRed is a major fundraising platform used primarily by Republican candidates and conservative causes.
Okay.
But the broader mechanism at play here is how these public ledgers have evolved over time. I mean, 20 years ago, campaign finance records were primarily the domain of journalists.
Or dedicated political researchers who had to actively request them.
Exactly. You had to sift through actual paper or clunky databases. Today, that raw data is scraped by automated bots.
Wait, bots are just pulling this constantly?
Oh, constantly. It's easily accessible through a few clicks and instantly shareable by anyone with a Wi-Fi connection.
Wow.
It transforms a bureaucratic record into immediate social media content.
And the internet immediately turned that content into a verdict. I mean, the social media firestorm was instantaneous.
Overnight.
Fans, political commentators, everyday observers, they looked at that raw financial data and instantly interpreted it as a direct personal endorsement of Donald Trump.
They filled in the blanks.
The narrative crystallized so fast. The headlines in our sources literally say, "Rumors swirl as Rosanda Chilli Thomas addresses Trump donation controversy."
Yeah.
You had users expressing deep disappointment, writing off her entire musical legacy, while others rushed to her defense, pointing out that, hey, financial data out of context might not tell the whole story.
Which brings up what researchers call context collapse.
Okay, unpack that for us. Context collapse.
So social media inherently flattens all of our different identities, beliefs, and complex daily actions into a single two-dimensional feed.
Right. We're just our last post.
Exactly. And when the internet gets a hold of an isolated data point, like a donation record, it strips away any surrounding human context.
We don't like ambiguity.
No, we want things black and white. Right. A donation record is a binary piece of data. The money moved from point A to point B.
So it's like finding a single puzzle piece and immediately guessing what the entire picture looks like.
Yeah.
But why did social media jump to conclusions so quickly instead of, waiting for context?
Well, the digital ecosystem is designed to reward the fastest, most sensational interpretation of that data. We see a transaction, and we immediately assume it represents a deeply held, overarching value system.
Right.
We basically mistake a single action for a complete philosophy.
But raw data doesn't actually tell you why a transaction happened on a Tuesday night.
No, it just tells you that it did.
And when the internet rushed to fill that context vacuum with assumptions of Meiji endorsements, Chilli was basically forced to step forward and explain what actually happened on her screen.
She had to put the fire out.
And her public statement was incredibly direct.
It had to be. When a narrative accelerates that quickly, any response has to be unequivocal just to cut through the noise.
Yeah. The sources detail that she responded publicly with a clear statement addressing the rumors head on. She stated emphatically that she does not support Donald Trump. She does not support the MAGA movement at all.
Right.
And she does not align with policies she believes are harmful. She explained that these donations completely lacked any political intent.
Which is the core of her defense.
According to her, it was a fundamental misunderstanding about where the funds were actually going. She believes she was contributing to charitable causes she cares deeply about, specifically combating human trafficking and aiding military veterans.
And this is the exact moment the story shifts.
How so?
It moves from a standard political controversy into a much more profound examination of digital literacy.
Right, because then she makes this crucial admission. The quote that really stands out in the reporting is Chilli admitting that she, quote, did not read the fine print.
That phrase right there is the defining vulnerability of the modern digital experience.
The fine print.
Yes. It is the bridge between what we intend to do in our minds and what a platform actually executes on our behalf.
Okay, look, I had to play devil's advocate here for a second because a lot of fans did not buy this explanation at all.
Sure, it sounds like an excuse to some.
Right, when you hear, I didn't read the fine print, the immediate question is, how do you accidentally fund a presidential campaign?
It's a fair question.
You have to pull out your credit card, type in your name, your address, your security code. At some point, shouldn't an adult, especially a celebrity with resources, have the media literacy to know exactly who she is giving money to? I mean, is it really that easy to make that mistake?
It is a completely natural reaction to be skeptical of that. But if we dig into what the source material reveals about the mechanics of digital fundraising, it actually is that easy.
Really?
Yeah. Let's talk about dark patterns.
Dark patterns, like the travel insurance on the plane ticket we talked about earlier.
Yeah, exactly like that. These are user interface design choices that intentionally confuse, manipulate, or trick users into doing things they might not otherwise do, but applied to political and charitable fundraising.
Okay, so how does that work in this context?
The reports specifically highlight that charitable messaging heavily overlaps with political fundraising. You might see an ad or click a link that uses urgent, emotional language about supporting veterans or fighting human trafficking.
Right, causes pretty much anyone would support.
Exactly. Those are universal causes that appeal to broad segments of the population.
So you are looking at a screen that says, "Help veterans now," in massive, bold text.
Right. And the visual hierarchy of the page is designed to keep your focus on that emotional appeal and the big Donate Now button.
Yeah.
But the underlying payment processing system, the actual destination of those funds, might be a political action committee or a platform like WinRed.
Oh, wow.
These platforms often bundle causes. The marketing language on the page is talking about a charitable cause, but the mechanism collecting the money is a political entity.
So navigating these donation pages is less like reading a straightforward contract and more like, I don't know, walking through a casino.
That's a great way to put it.
The design intentionally hides the clocks and the exit signs, or in this case, the legal disclosures, so you just keep clicking.
They want friction-free transactions.
You pull out your credit card because you want to do a good thing. You skip the massive block of legalese at the very bottom of the screen in 8-point font because nobody actually reads the terms of service on their phone, and suddenly your name is sitting on a federal campaign finance registry.
Yep. The sources point out that confusing online donation systems and unclear labeling are a recognized widespread issue. It completely blurs the lines between a philanthropic urge and a political endorsement.
That's wild.
And suddenly, we are no longer talking about a celebrity's hidden political agenda. We're talking about user interface design, platform transparency, and the traps built into digital fundraising that capture everyday people just as easily.
But just as the public was starting to process this defense, this idea of deceptive UI and dark patterns, another digital misstep happened.
Yeah, the timing on this was
Brutal. It really complicates the narrative for anyone trying to defend her.
one digital error can be explained away by pointing to the platform's design. Two errors. That creates a pattern in the public eye, and that is incredibly difficult to dismantle.
So the sources detail a completely separate incident involving Chilli's social media activity that occurred right around this exact same time.
Yeah.
She inadvertently reshared a conspiracy video about Michelle Obama.
I mean, in the context of trying to clear your name of a right-wing political endorsement rumor, sharing a conspiracy video about a prominent Democratic figure is the absolute worst possible data point to introduce into the ecosystem.
Yeah, we've all hit the wrong button on our phones.
We all have fat finger moments.
Right, we've all experienced that moment of panic where you accidentally like a photo from 4 years ago while scrolling late at night.
The worst feeling.
But for a public figure actively trying to put out a political fire, this is like trying to extinguish a blaze and accidentally knocking over a gas can right into it.
The internet sees the action, the reshare, and once again immediately assumes the intent.
That she watched it and agreed with it.
Right, that she consciously chose to broadcast it to her followers.
Her explanation for this second incident mirrors the first, though. She stated the repost was completely accidental.
Yep.
She blamed her unfamiliarity with the platform's features and how the share mechanics worked. And she went on to reiterate her deep respect for Michelle Obama and stated very clearly that she would never intentionally share harmful or disrespectful content.
Take a step back and look at the sequence of events here. You have a misunderstood financial transaction due to unclear platform labeling,
Right.
followed closely by an accidental reshare due to unfamiliarity with social media interface features.
Both defenses essentially boil down to, my finger clicked a thing on a screen that my brain did not intend to click.
Exactly. And while that is a very real phenomenon, we call it fat fingering or muscle memory bypassing cognitive thought. When you take those two incidents together, the sources note they fueled immense speculation.
Yeah, I can see how that looks bad to the public.
They combined to create a concrete public conclusion that entirely failed to reflect her stated intent. It demonstrates how the frictionless design of our digital tools is actually a massive liability.
Frictionless design. Meaning the apps are built to make sharing and spending as easy and thoughtless as possible.
Precisely. Social media platforms engineer their interfaces to remove all friction. They want you to share with one tap.
No barriers.
Right. They don't want you to stop and think, wait, am I endorsing this? The tools we use are so fast that an accidental tap on a glass screen instantly broadcasts a supposed value system to millions of people before you even realize your thumb slipped.
It really makes you sweat a little bit thinking about your own daily scrolling habits.
Oh, absolutely.
And naturally, we have to look at the public verdict. How did the jury of the internet react to this combined defense of dark patterns and frictionless UI? Because she put it all out there. She explained the overlapping shareable messaging. She explained the confusing share buttons. What was the verdict?
Well, the sources show the reaction from her fans fractured along two distinct lines of thinking. And it highlights a major debate about digital responsibility.
Okay, what were the two camps?
On one hand, you had fans who were very understanding. They accepted her explanation, especially regarding the recurring donations and the confusing interface.
Right, because they've probably been there.
Exactly. They acknowledged that unclear labeling happens and that unintended contributions are a real phenomenon that traps everyday people too. They bought the fine print defense because they've likely been victims of a dark pattern themselves.
They've bought that accidental travel insurance.
Spot on. But on the other hand, you had a very vocal contingent who remained highly skeptical.
And their argument wasn't necessarily that she was lying about the accidental clicks.
Right. No, it was more about accountability. Their argument was that public figures have a fundamental responsibility to show greater diligence.
The idea being, if you have millions of followers, vast resources, and a massive platform, you need to be significantly more careful with financial and political systems.
Yes. The argument is that ignorance of platform features or skipping the fine print isn't a valid excuse when your actions have that much reach and influence.
Interesting.
It raises a fascinating cultural dynamic highlighted in the sources. We have an expectation in society that celebrities maintain perfectly consistent, easily categorizable political identities.
Yeah, we want our public figures to be flawless reflections of our own moral compasses.
We form these intense parasocial relationships with artists.
Totally. We listen to their music for decades, we feel like we know them, and we assume they share our exact worldview.
Exactly. So when a data point contradicts that, it feels like a personal betrayal to the fan.
That is the core of the outrage right there. Public figures, just like the rest of us, operate in these incredibly complex, confusing digital landscapes. But the public's assumptions are rigid.
Very rigid. The reality is that these online landscapes are fraught with confusing design choices, overlapping messaging, and literal traps designed to capture engagement and money.
Which brings up this massive unresolved debate about accountability. I mean, if a platform designs a donation page where the charitable messaging is huge and bold, and the political destination of the funds is buried in tiny, low-contrast fine print, who is really at fault when a mistake is made?
That's the million-dollar question.
Is the burden entirely on the individual for not reading every single word of the legal text? Or is the platform accountable for intentionally obfuscating where the money is actually going?
The sources frame this as an ongoing, critical issue of accountability. Yes, the individual user clicked the button, but the system was deliberately engineered to bypass their critical thinking. This entire controversy serves as a masterclass on what happens when digital systems built for maximum extraction collide with a celebrity culture built on instant judgment.
So as we pull all these threads together, let's look at the major takeaways from this deep dive. We started with a single, undeniable fact, right? Raw financial data showing a donation.
Yes.
But the journey from that isolated data point to the actual human truth of the situation was a maze of dark patterns and context collapse. The most crucial distinction we unpack today is the massive gulf between a rapid digital transaction and a person's actual, deeply held personal beliefs.
And Chilli's public clarification relied entirely on drawing that exact distinction for her audience. She had to forcefully separate the physical action of the click from the actual intent of her heart.
We also saw how the ongoing struggle for transparency in digital platforms, the unclear labeling, overlapping charitable and political messaging, and frictionless share buttons, can turn a well-meaning attempt to help veterans into a national political scandal.
And whether her explanation of the dark patterns and the accidental clicks actually satisfies her critics in the long term, well, that remains to be seen.
Yeah, the internet has a very long memory for the initial outrage.
And a remarkably short attention span for the nuanced technical correction.
Which brings us to the ultimate lesson from all of these sources.
The takeaway is the dangerous imbalance between speed and depth in our digital age. Perception forms instantly.
Right.
A federal record is scraped by a bot, a screenshot is shared, a narrative is born, and a judgment is passed in seconds. But understanding, real human understanding of intent, context, and the deceptive mechanics of how these platforms actually operate takes much, much longer. And more often than not, the public simply refuses to wait around for the understanding part.
We are all walking through that casino, trying to navigate the flashing lights without accidentally signing away our values. Which leaves you with a really fascinating thought to chew on. Think about your own digital life right now.
Yeah, it's a sobering thought.
If our digital paper trails, our quick clicks, our accidental reshares, our fat-fingered scrolling, the terms of service we blindly accept every single day, if all of that data can be so easily disconnected from our actual real-world beliefs, are we moving toward a future where our online footprint tells a completely fictional story about who we really are?
Wow.
And if that is the case, how will we ever truly know someone's values just by looking at a screen? Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We will catch you next time.